There are many names that I go by, that people call me. Joe, Joseph, Rav Yosef, Hacham, Rabbi Dweck. But there's one name that when I look in the mirror and I catch my own eyes looking back at me, which we don't always do. You know, we look at the mirror, we look at everything else but our eyes. But when we can look at our eyes, what's the name that comes up? Most often it's the name that I grew up with. It's a name that my parents, my siblings, my grandparents call me, and it's just Joey. But almost nobody calls me that anymore. And I think about names. Names fascinate me because they are the way that we express ourselves in the world. It's the way that people think of us. It's a symbol for everything that we are in the minds of the people that we interact with. And I was thinking, if our people, if our nation, as a collective body, were to look in the mirror and catch our eyes, what would be the name that we most deeply identify with? And I don't think that it's Jew. I would suggest that it's something else. I would suggest that the name is Yisrael, Israel. I'll tell you why. You know, you think about the name that we grew up with, the name that my earliest memories are attached to. And the name Yisrael is that name for our people. But we've been called Jews for the last 2,000 years. We've called ourselves that, and it's how we've been known in the world. But if we as a people were to look in the mirror and to find our eyes in that mirror and to connect to the deepest part of who we are, I imagine that it might very well be Israel that comes up. It was the name of a man, first Jacob, and then Israel, and then his children, Bnei Israel, the children of Israel, and then a nascent nation, and then a kingdom, and then an entire people. And if we think about it, we were a nation before we were a religion. And that was our name. It was who we were. And when we lost that, and we spread out into the entire world, and where have we not been? What country have we not visited? What language have we not spoken? When we spread out into the world, that name went dormant. And the name of one tribe out of 12, the tribe of Judah, was what we took for ourselves because it was all that was left. And we forgot that we were a nation. We forgot that we were a people, sovereign on a land. Among the other nations of this world, we forgot that when we say Goy, we don't mean non-Jew. We simply mean another nation. And we took the relationship that we had with God and we encapsulated it and we put it together and we took it with us on our backs and we became a religion. And we tribally named ourselves Jews, Yehudim, from the tribe of Judah. And we thought of ourselves only as people that adhere to religious ideas and religious laws. And we edited ourselves down. But what happens to a people when for 2,000 years we have thought of ourselves as a tribe and as a religion and forgotten that we are a nation on this earth? What happens to an identity? When we think about a name, isn't it true that our name is shorthand for everything that we are? Isn't it true that my real name is Yosef ben Yeshua ben Ezra, and so on, and back and back? And if I were really to say my name, if I were to tell my name to you, if I could say my whole name, it would take generations. and I would string my identity back 3,000, 4,000 years and hold that in my hand. But we don't do that. We use our names as shorthand. So Joe, Joey, Rav, whatever it is, that's shorthand. But in that one name, what does it hold? What does it stand for? I think about it a lot. You know, my family, my wife Margalit, she'll call me any number of those names until I actually turn around. The only one that I turn around to is when she says, Rabbi, and I turn around. And I turn around to this. You know, so there are issues, but that's for another talk. That's for another talk. But the idea of who I am, how far back does my name go? What is the nature of my identity? It's something that we have difficulty with when we think about it. Because how far back are we supposed to go? I mean, which generation do I end the stream of Ben, the son of, the son of, the son of? I mean, how are we supposed to manage all of that? There's got to be a point in where I edit my life. And where I say, all right, this section is what I'll hold. This part is what I'll be able to carry on my back and live. But do we really want to edit our lives? I mean, is that really what we hope to do? What does it look like when after 2,000 years of a name being dormant is resurrected? Shouldn't have called the new country when we came back home Israel. Who thought to call it Israel? We were Jews for 2 millennia. Wouldn't it make more sense to call it Judea? But we didn't. We woke the name up. And we remembered that when we came back to a land, when we came back as a nation with a dream of reclaiming what it means to be a nation on this earth, the name came back to us. It floated in front of us. And we wore it prominently. And we called ourselves again Yisrael. And how much wider is it? And how much broader is it? How much deeper is it? How much more does it encompass than simply Jew? Now, don't get me wrong. Jew is meaningful. It's part of who we are. But if we think about it and we don't edit, if we take the full uncut version of our identity, we know that our name is Israel. We are a sovereign people. We are a nation first and foremost. And when we think about ourselves that way, when we look in the mirror and we see our eyes, when we think about ourselves that way, we have room to be able to accommodate and to encompass everything that we are. But it's a lot. And so we snip, we edit, and we shrink, and we keep it down into something that we can keep neatly in our pockets. But it's much bigger than that. We all know it. And not only do we know it, the world knows it. How is somebody not to pay attention to the fact that a people that have been away for 2,000 years come back to the place that they left, call themselves the name that they had all that time ago, and stand prominently, living, thriving, moving? Would you not be nervous? Aren't you nervous? Does it not make us nervous? The weight of it all, the magnitude of it all. I don't know about you, but you ask me, Moses could come back down and split the sea 100 more times. And it would pale in comparison to the miracle of you and I being here. Would pale in comparison to the miracle that as we were burned by the fires of the world, in every one of our iterations, we are here and we are once again Yisrael. And so when we think about names, and we think about what it means to have trouble accommodating a name, or more severely, to be anti-name. And there is such a thing. We call it anti-Shem. It's anti-Semite or anti-name. And that's really what it is. It's the literal definition. Sure, it means more than that, and goes back to Shem, son of Noach, the Semites, and so on. But at the end, at its face, it is anti-Shem, where names are too powerful. And the string of Yosef, Ben Ezra, Ben Yeshua, and back is too powerful for us to bear. And are we ready to hold it and to own it? And are we as a nation ready to look at the mirror and find our eyes? It takes time for the waters to settle when we do that, yes? I highly recommend it, by the way. When you look in the mirror, and it's not the hair, and it's not the skin, and it's not anything else, it's not the wrinkles, it's the eyes. And in the eyes, the name comes forth. And in the eyes, you hear the names roll back and back and back into the generations, and they stand before us. And so it's been wonderful to be Jews for 2 millennia. And it's been difficult and challenging. But at the end, we are all expats. We left our country, and our nation had dispersed. And we took with us what we could to remember who we were. And we have absorbed everything that we've experienced in all places that we've been, in every language, in every perspective, in every culture. It lives in the heart of our people in a way that it doesn't live anywhere else. Any one of us could walk into the British Museum, in almost any exhibit, in almost any room, and recognize it as a footnote to our history. Now that's weight. And that's in what we call in Hebrew kavod, which comes from the word kaved. It is gravitas. It is a weighty thing. It is who we are.